In a bold and unprecedented move, Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader of Burkina Faso, has unveiled a revolutionary economic plan that promises to transform not only his country but potentially the entire African continent. At the heart of this vision is a direct employment initiative designed to create 300,000 jobs, a scale rarely seen in modern African development efforts. But this is not just a numbers game. It is a direct challenge to the century-old economic dominance of Western powers over Africa's resources, industries, and financial systems. The announcement has sent ripples through international circles. Western economic experts, long accustomed to guiding African economies through foreign aid and conditional loans, have dismissed the plan as unachievable and overly ambitious. Yet within Africa, and especially in Burkina Faso, the sentiment is drastically different. Many see in Traoré a symbol of a new era. One in which African nations no longer plead for development but actively build it themselves, with their own hands and resources. What makes this plan so radical is not merely its scope, but its foundation. Traoré has rejected the familiar route of seeking Western financial support. Instead, he aims to harness Burkina Faso's own wealth, its gold mines, its farmlands, its people's ingenuity, to lay the groundwork for economic independence. And he is not stopping there. The plan encompasses industrialization, technological advancement, energy independence, educational reform, and even cultural revitalization. It is a full-scale blueprint for a self-sufficient, future-facing African nation. The implications are staggering. If successful, this plan could break the chains of economic dependency that have bound much of Africa since the colonial era. It could inspire similar movements across the continent and force a global rethinking of Africa's place in the world economy. But the road ahead is fraught with challenges, from diplomatic pressures to financial sabotage. In this video, we dive deep into the components of Traoré's plan, the strategies that underpin it, and the risks he is willing to take. This is not just a story of economics, it's a story of identity, sovereignty, and the fight for a future shaped by Africans, for Africans. At the core of Ibrahim Traoré's economic revolution lies a deceptively simple yet profoundly transformative idea: Africa must own its future. For decades, Burkina Faso, like many other African nations, has been caught in a web of economic dependency. This cycle typically involved exporting raw resources to the West, receiving a fraction of their value in return, and then borrowing money, often from the same powers, to fund basic development. Traoré's plan aims to break this cycle once and for all. Instead of accepting loans and financial aid from Western institutions like the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, Traoré has chosen a different path. He intends to finance the country's development using its own wealth, particularly from its gold mining sector. Gold revenues, traditionally routed through foreign-controlled exchanges, are now being redirected into national infrastructure, job creation, and industrialization. His economic advisor, Dr. Amadou Dio, stated it bluntly: "We were forced to sell our gold in London and borrow it back at a loss." That cycle ends now. But Traoré's vision goes beyond just financial autonomy. He is laying the groundwork for a new model of development, one that is tailored to African realities, rather than imposed from the outside. This includes control over mineral resources, agricultural land, and forests that have long been managed or exploited by foreign corporations. He has demanded the renegotiation of extractive contracts and insisted on fairer terms that prioritize national interests. The plan also centers around creating an internal economic ecosystem where value is retained and reinvested locally. Whether it's through processing raw minerals domestically, developing homegrown technology, or promoting local entrepreneurship, Traoré's model seeks to reverse the long-standing flow of wealth out of Africa. It is a vision rooted in dignity, ownership, and long-term self-reliance. By challenging the legacy of neocolonialism and asserting the right to self-determination, Traore is redefining what it means for an African nation to develop. His vision is not about isolation, it's about partnership on equal terms, with Africa no longer at the mercy of external interests. One of the cornerstone elements of Ibrahim Traoré's economic strategy is the transformation of Burkina Faso's agricultural sector. A bold move aimed at achieving food sovereignty, reducing dependency on imported goods, and creating mass employment. In a country where the majority of people still rely on subsistence farming, the shift from traditional agriculture to modern, industrial-scale farming marks a seismic change. The plan begins with reclaiming and revitalizing arid lands through large-scale irrigation projects. This initiative is not only about increasing crop yield but also about turning previously unproductive land into fertile, income-generating assets. Over 1,000 tractors and pieces of advanced agricultural equipment have already been distributed, making it possible to implement modern farming techniques across 150,000 hectares. According to Fatima Ouedraogo, an official from the Ministry of Agriculture, these efforts are expected to provide direct employment to at least 100,000 people. But the vision goes beyond fieldwork. Processing facilities for agricultural products are being constructed to ensure that the country captures the full value of its crops, no longer exporting raw produce for others to refine and profit from. These facilities represent the largest agricultural industrialization initiative in West Africa. This move is not merely about growing food, it's about reshaping an entire economic sector. For decades, African agriculture has been a paradox: rich lands, hard-working farmers, yet widespread food insecurity and dependency on foreign imports. Traoré's plan seeks to end that contradiction by empowering farmers with tools, infrastructure, and training to produce, process, and market their goods domestically. The ripple effects are immense. Improved agricultural productivity not only boosts food security but also strengthens rural economies, reduces poverty, and enhances national resilience. By focusing on agriculture as both an economic and social priority, Traoré is signaling a new era where Burkina Faso's development is rooted in its land and people. This agricultural transformation is more than a policy, it's a statement. Burkina Faso will no longer be a passive player in global food systems. It will feed itself, employ its people, and chart its own course toward sustainable prosperity. Minerals have long been both a blessing and a burden for African nations. While the continent is rich in gold, copper, manganese, and rare earth elements, much of this wealth has historically flowed outwards, extracted by foreign companies, exported raw, and sold at a fraction of their true value. Ibrahim Traoré's industrial policy is a direct confrontation of this legacy, designed to ensure that Burkina Faso not only controls its mineral wealth but uses it to build a domestic industrial base. Central to the plan is the creation of domestic processing plants for the country's vast mineral deposits. Instead of shipping gold or copper abroad for refining, Burkina Faso will now handle much of the processing in-country. This shift is not just about maximizing profits, it's about reclaiming control over an entire value chain that has traditionally benefited outsiders. Initial projections estimate that these mineral processing facilities will generate at least 50,000 jobs and could increase the country's export revenues fivefold. Western mining interests, unsurprisingly, are deeply unsettled. Many have long enjoyed lucrative, low-cost access to African minerals with minimal reinvestment in local communities. Traoré's renegotiation of contracts with international firms, and in some cases outright nationalization of resources, signals a new era of assertive resource nationalism. These actions have already prompted diplomatic pushback, particularly from France, whose economic influence in its former colonies is now under threat. But Burkina Faso is not retreating, it's re-strategizing. By partnering with alternative economic allies like China and Russia, the country is diversifying its industrial relationships and shielding itself from Western economic retaliation. These new alliances are helping finance infrastructure, supply equipment, and transfer technology necessary for a successful industrial build-out. This phase of industrialization is not just about mining, it's about laying the foundation for future sectors, manufacturing, technology, and energy, that depend on stable, locally controlled sources of raw materials. Traoré's vision transforms minerals from a symbol of exploitation into a vehicle for national growth. In short, this is more than an economic shift, it's a rebalancing of power. And Burkina Faso is no longer content to be just a resource provider. It is stepping up to be a producer, a refiner, and a competitor in the global industrial economy. Few would associate Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation with limited industrial history, with high-tech innovation. Yet under Ibrahim Traoré's economic blueprint, the country is positioning itself as a future hub for technology production in Africa. In what may be the most ambitious component of his plan, Traoré has initiated the construction of Africa's first large-scale, integrated tech manufacturing facilities. These factories are designed to produce a range of critical technologies, from microchips and solar panels to electric vehicle batteries and smart agricultural equipment. The goal is clear: to ensure that Africa is no longer just a source of raw materials for global tech giants, but a producer of high-value, cutting-edge products. This initiative alone is expected to provide employment for over 70,000 people. Why is this move so groundbreaking? Because it directly challenges the global tech supply chain dominated by Western and Asian firms, which rely heavily on African raw materials like lithium, cobalt, and rare earth elements. Until now, these elements were exported cheaply and re-imported as expensive finished goods. Traoré's strategy is to break that cycle, by processing and assembling technology at the source, thereby capturing the real economic value. The impact could be transformative not only for Burkina Faso but for the entire continent. As Western companies scramble to reassess their African strategies, Burkina Faso is emerging as a regional leader in tech self-sufficiency. It's no longer just about mining, it's about making Africa a viable player in the global tech ecosystem. Crucially, this isn't just about production, it's about innovation. The new Technology and Innovation Center at the University of Ouagadougou, Africa's most advanced education complex, will train thousands of students in science, engineering, and digital skills. According to Professor Joseph Attara, the center's director, we are training the pioneers of Africa's technological transformation. This leap into the future sends a powerful message: Africa is not waiting to be invited to the table of global innovation, it is building its own. With this initiative, Traoré is not only transforming his country's economy, he is rewriting the narrative of what's possible for African technology. For Ibrahim Traoré, economic independence begins in the classroom. Recognizing that no development model can succeed without a well-educated and technically skilled population, his government has launched a sweeping education reform aimed at reshaping how young people in Burkina Faso, and potentially across Africa, are prepared for the future. At the core of this initiative is a focus on practical, technical, and locally relevant education. The traditional colonial-era curriculum, heavily centered on Western history and theory, is being replaced with a more African-centered approach. This new curriculum emphasizes vocational training, technology, engineering, agriculture, and African history and culture. It aims to instill both skills and pride in the next generation. The centerpiece of this educational transformation is the newly established Technology and Innovation Center at the University of Ouagadougou. Touted as the most modern educational complex in Africa, the center is designed to equip 50,000 young people with hands-on training in high-demand fields such as robotics, renewable energy, software development, and industrial design. "We are not just training workers," said Professor Joseph Attara, the center's director. We are training innovators and leaders. Africans who will solve African problems with African solutions. This reform is also a direct response to the continent's long-standing brain drain, in which Africa's brightest minds often emigrate due to a lack of opportunities at home. By creating an ecosystem that supports talent development, entrepreneurship, and job creation, Traore hopes to reverse this trend. Already, the plan is drawing interest from members of the African diaspora eager to return and contribute. Importantly, education is also being localized linguistically and culturally. Instruction in native languages is being prioritized alongside French and English, and teaching materials are being revised to reflect the lived experiences and values of African communities. The goal is to cultivate generations who are not only technically capable but also deeply connected to their heritage and identity. This education overhaul isn't just an investment in youth. It's a declaration that the future of Africa will be authored by Africans themselves. In Traoré's vision, the classroom is no longer a place of colonial inheritance but a launchpad for continental renaissance. Energy is the backbone of any modern economy, and Ibrahim Traoré understands that without reliable power, industrialization and technological progress are impossible. That's why energy independence forms a critical pillar of his national development plan. Burkina Faso, like much of sub-Saharan Africa, has long suffered from erratic electricity access, particularly in rural areas where millions still live in darkness. Traoré aims to change that. His strategy focuses on renewable energy sources, solar, biomass, and hydroelectric power, as the foundation for a sustainable and sovereign energy system. Solar energy takes center stage, thanks to Burkina Faso's abundant sunshine. Large-scale solar farms are being built to supply the national grid, while decentralized microgrids are being deployed in remote villages. These projects are expected to provide clean, stable energy to 90% of the population within 5 years. According to Ministry of Energy official Jane Baptiste Zungrana, we are not just electrifying villages, we are powering transformation. This energy access will directly support the growth of local businesses, schools, health centers, and the broader industrial sector envisioned by Traoré's plan. The energy initiative is also projected to create 30,000 new jobs in installation, maintenance, and energy management. This approach not only reduces Burkina Faso's dependency on imported fossil fuels but also positions the country as a leader in Africa's renewable energy transition. In Traoré's model, energy is no longer a luxury, it is a public right and a catalyst for independence. Financial independence is one of the most disruptive and symbolic components of Ibrahim Traoré's economic agenda. For decades, West African nations, including Burkina Faso, have used a currency known as the CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro and managed via the French treasury. Critics have long argued that this system allows France to exert financial control over its former colonies. Traoré intends to change that. His government has begun laying the groundwork for a regional digital currency, developed in cooperation with neighboring countries. This new currency would not only sever the symbolic and practical ties to the French financial system, but also offer modern, decentralized financial tools that are more accessible to everyday people and small businesses. True independence requires monetary sovereignty, says Economy Minister Hamidou Konaté. If we cannot control our own money, we cannot control our destiny. Parallel to this, the government is rolling out an ambitious microfinance strategy. The plan includes the creation of cooperative banking systems designed to serve rural communities and small producers, those who have traditionally been excluded from formal banking. This system supports over 100,000 micro-entrepreneurs and small businesses, ensuring that profits remain within local communities. By prioritizing inclusive finance and monetary reform, Traoré is attacking the roots of economic dependency. These financial reforms aim to democratize access to capital and ensure that Burkina Faso's wealth serves its people, not foreign creditors or distant banks. In a bold departure from traditional economic planning, Ibrahim Traoré has placed women at the center of Burkina Faso's economic transformation. Recognizing that no society can thrive while half its population is economically sidelined, Traoré's plan mandates that at least 40% of all newly created jobs be allocated to women. This commitment marks a significant step toward gender equity in a country where women have historically faced economic marginalization. To support this goal, the government has launched targeted financial programs and training initiatives aimed specifically at women entrepreneurs. These include low-interest loans, business incubators, and mentorship programs designed to help women launch and scale businesses in agriculture, manufacturing, services, and digital technology. Minister of Women's Rights and Family, Aissata Zongo, emphasizes the strategic importance of this move. Women are the backbone of our economy. Real transformation is not possible without their leadership and participation. Beyond economic inclusion, this initiative also signals a cultural shift. By empowering women economically, the plan is challenging patriarchal norms and creating space for broader social reforms. It acknowledges that economic independence must go hand in hand with social empowerment. In short, this isn't just about jobs, it's about dignity, equality, and rewriting the role of women in Burkina Faso's development story. In Traoré's vision, a prosperous future must be a shared one, and women are not just participants, they are catalysts. Narrative control has always been a powerful tool in shaping public perception, both domestically and globally. Ibrahim Traoré recognizes this, and as part of his economic independence strategy, he is investing heavily in building a sovereign media and cultural ecosystem that reflects African voices, values, and realities. The government has initiated the creation of a national digital media platform and plans to launch an Africa-centered news network. These platforms are designed not just to inform, but to reframe how Burkina Faso, and Africa more broadly, is portrayed to the world. No longer willing to accept narratives constructed by Western media outlets, Traoré's administration is declaring that Africa must tell its own story. Minister of Communication Emmanuel Sanon explains, "For too long, others have spoken for us. Now, we speak for ourselves." The initiative is expected to provide employment to at least 10,000 media professionals, including journalists, ed.